morning. How's everyone doing this morning? I am doing fantastic. I love winter. I love the coolness of air. I don't know if you've seen me, but I'm a polar bear, and I absolutely love the cold weather. It just energizes me and gets me going. My name is Clint Hill, and I am not Mitch Wilburn. I don't know if you know that today. I'm a lot more handsomer, all right? Although we do have the same haircut, all right? Mitch is away on vacation, and it is my honor to be here. I'm the branch minister at Brookside, and I love coming here and preaching, and I just love being with my family at Park Plaza Central. It's so good. And it's something you got to know about me. You see, you can show this next picture. I am a huge Detroit Lions fan. Massive. Why? I grew up in New Mexico. There's no real reason why. No, my family grew up in Detroit, and I'd go visit them in Detroit, and you know, I grew up to be a Lions fan. And I got to do something this past week. My wife gave me one of the best gifts. My wife and my mom and my dad gave me the best gift that I have ever gotten. Is I got to go to a Monday night football game against the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions. I was like, and opening that, I was like, this is not real, you know, I was so excited. And what's even cooler about it is I got to go with my boy. And it was just one of those bucket list things that I was so excited. This is Asher right here doing the little, the arm toss. It didn't go very far, but, you know, that's not really the point. The point is we got to go. And he had a blast doing it. I don't know if you've seen this picture of this guy right here. A lot of people, Asher is actually in full Lions garb. We're talking helmet, jersey, pants, cleats, everything. This kid looks like he can go out on the field at any moment. All right? I was hoping they would call his number. And he was actually, I said, do you want to go in? He said, no, not at all. You know, and so, because these guys are so big, it was really cool. We had people just lined up to take pictures with us, Snapchat with us. It was one of the weirdest things that I have ever experienced. Because I thought we would go into this and we'd be the enemy. But, you know, as most Detroit Lions fans, you know, we're not really that big of a threat. So, you know. And so we went there, and it was so much fun. My favorite story of all of it is when Asher, this guy was sitting right next to us, and he looked at Asher, and he was a big Cowboys fan. We were in the Lions section, but it wasn't Lions. It was just Cowboys fans everywhere. And we were sitting there, and Asher was sitting there, and I was so proud of him because he was in it the whole time. The whole time. He'd be like, yes, and he'd cheer at the right points, which really made me excited, you know, because I was like, yes, you know, and so he'd cheer at the right points. But this guy sitting right next to us said, if you stand up and cheer for the Cowboys, he told this to Asher, I'll give you $10 for cotton candy. And Asher looked at me. And I was like, cotton candy? I can't really compete with that, you know? I mean, we're the Detroit Lions. We haven't won anything since '58. Win something for us, son, you know, like, you know? And so he got up and he stood up, and the whole section kind of knew of us because we cheered the whole time. We would stand up and slap hands with the other Lions fans. So they kind of knew that we were Lions fans. And he stood up and our section got quiet. 114 got quiet, and he went, "Go Lions!" And I said, I'm buying this boy's cotton candy. And I was like, and it was one of the funnest, excitingest moments that I've ever had. And I'm going to tell you that I was a little nervous coming into it. Because, I mean, you're going into enemy territory. Not only the enemy, but the Dallas Cowboys. Ugh. Going into there. And I was really nervous. And what was really interesting, is really cool, and I'm still not a giant Dallas Cowboys fan, but man, I love their fans. Because when everybody was getting up and they were booing the Lions fans, as we were getting up and leaving the game, me and Asher stood up and they cheered us as we went out. And they slapped his hand on the way out and said, next time you come in a Cowboys uniform. And he was like, no. And I was like, yes, yes. And, you know, I started thinking about this. I was like, this is kind of Asher in the Cowboys den, you know? I mean, it's not Daniel in the Lions den that we're talking about. It's Asher in the Cowboys den. And if you're facing lions that look like this, the scenario will come out like that every time. I grew up. This was one of the things I grew up thinking Daniel in the Lions den looked like. Daniel, just kicking back. Oh, I'm a little nervous because I got to sleep with lions. Oh, but when I get in there, it's going to be a chill thing. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to play Parcheesi with the lions. It's going to be fantastic. And I grew up thinking like this. If you don't know what Parcheesi is, Google it. All right? And I grew up thinking like this. And I grew up thinking that, man, the lions, it just wasn't a real threat. But what do you do when your lions don't look like this? They actually look like this. What do you do? Because some of us have faced these kind of lions in the form of cancer, or a spouse leaving, or a job promotion that you don't really know if it does because it gets against your moral ethics. We've faced some of these things. And I wish that we would change how we teach Daniel and the lion's den to kids, because the lions actually look like this. They didn't toss people in there and they had a good time. They tossed people in there and people got torn limb from limb. These lions are no joke. 125 deaths year-round happen at lions. Happen because of lions. They are scary, and they are truly terrifying. And if you want a good representation of how scary they are, watch the movie Ghost in the Darkness. And you will look and see how a true story of two African lions who killed over, I think it was like 3,000 people. And they did it because they had a toothache. Terror. Absolute terror at these monsters of what they can do. And so let's read about this Daniel guy who had to face a lion that actually looked like this. All right, so we're going to be in Daniel chapter 6. We're going to start in verse 3, okay? Now Daniel was so distinguished himself among the administrators and the straps by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over his kingdom. At this, the administrators and the straps tried to find grounds to charge against Daniel in his conduct of the government affairs, but they were unable to do so. They could find no corruption in Daniel because he was trustworthy and he was neither corrupt nor negligent. Finally, these men said, "We will never find any basis for a charge against this man, Daniel, unless it is something to do with his law of his God." So the administrators and the stirrups went as a group of the king and said, "May King Darius live forever." The royal administrators, the prefects, the stirrups, the advisors, the governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforce the decree that anyone who prays to any god or human being during these 30 days, except to you, King Darius, your majesty, shall be thrown into the lion's den. Now, your majesty, issue the decree and put it in writing so that it cannot be altered, in accordance with the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be repealed. So King Darius put the decree in writing. What that verse 8 means is that when the king said something, he could not be overruled, not even by himself. So when he made an edict, like, "You will worship me and me alone for 30 days, and anyone else who is found not worshiping me will be thrown into the lion's den," there's no way out of it for 30 days. There's no way out. And what's funny is these guys lied too. I don't know if you noticed, they said all the prefects, all the administrators, all the stirrups, everyone, King Darius agrees with this. I know one who didn't agree with it, Daniel. They lied. They're corrupt and they're negligent men. They lied. And so now when you're Daniel and you hear this decree, you have three options. One, you can panic. You can panic, or you can have a cute kid on your shoulder. You can panic. Can you imagine Daniel running from the lion's den? I don't think it would take much to imagine that. Of hearing this decree that, hey, you have to worship me for 30 days, and Daniel go, "I'm out for 30 days, easy, easy. I'm out. No problem, I'm out." But he didn't do that. Or You see, you can panic or you can become paralyzed. Daniel didn't become paralyzed either. He didn't hear it and say, oh no, what do I do? What do I do? I'm so scared. I'm just going to sit here and play possum for 30 days. No one will know. I'm the governor. I'm the ruler. I can do whatever I want. I can take a vacation for 30 days or I can stay in my house for 30 days. I'm the boss. He didn't do that. He didn't become paralyzed and become trapped by his title. Daniel did something else that is beyond me. You see, for the last 3 weeks, we've talked about fight, flight, or hide. Those are the three things we've talked about. And this is the scenario where Daniel has a choice to either panic, he can fly, or he can become paralyzed, he can hide, or he can pray and he can fight. Let's see what he did in verse 10. Now, when Daniel learned that the decree had been published, he went upstairs to the upstairs room in the windows toward Jerusalem. And 3 times a day, he got down on his knees and he prayed, giving thanks to God, just as he had done before. That's a man right there. There is no other God. Yeah, there is. I can fly, I can hide, but I'm not. I want to choose to fight. And 3 days, he got in a place where everyone could see him, and he prayed to God. He fought. What's really funny is if he was paralyzed and he panicked, he would escape the lion's den. But he prayed, and he welcomed it. How important is prayer to us? I don't know about you, but I'm totally 30 days cool without prayer. And that's terrible. That's terrible for me to say. I'm cool with taking a vacation and not going to church. I'm cool with that. And then I look at someone like Daniel who goes, no, Clint, I am not cool with that. I am not cool with worshiping anyone but God. Seems like Daniel really got what Psalm 55:15 was trying to say. Among the worshipers, let death take enemies by surprise. Let them go down alive to the realm of the dead. For evil finds lodging among them. But as for me, I call to God, and the Lord saves me. Evening, morning, noon, I cry out in my distress, and he hears my voice. He rescues me unharmed from the battle waged against me. And even though many oppose me, God, who is enthroned from old, who does not change, he will hear them and humble them because they have no fear of God. Daniel made something that we all need to do, and I'm me. I need to do this more than anyone. Is I need to make prayer a holy practice to where nothing gets in the way of it, no matter what I'm going to face because of it. No matter. That scares me. That scares me. Because if I pray, I'm going to face a lion's den. Whew. I don't know how I feel about that. We need to face a holy habit. It says in Philippians 4:6, 7 through 6, it says this, or 6 through 7, because we don't go back in time. 6 through 7 says this. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. See, Daniel had a peace about going there. That doesn't mean he was calm and he was cool with it. That means he had a peace about it. He knew that he would face what he would face, and he was cool because he knew who God was. Daniel 6:13 says this. Then they said to the king, Daniel, these are the precepts and the administrators talking to King Darius. Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, O your majesty, or your decree who you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day. And when the king heard this, he was greatly distressed because he determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. Then the men went to the group of King Darius and said, "Remember, your majesty, that according to the law of the Medes and the Persian order, that they brought Daniel, and they threw him into the lion's den." And the king said to Daniel, don't miss this, the king said to Daniel, "May your God, who you continually serve, protect you." Does that sound like a guy who's rooting for him? If I was Daniel, I'd be mad right now. Because these guys came up to him and said, "All the administrators agree that we should do this, Daniel," or King Darius. "Daniel agrees that everyone should pray to you." And then you found out that the one who you're most trustworthy didn't. And he's sitting there the whole time like, what have I done? I don't want him to face the lion's den. I don't want that to happen to him. I don't want him to go down. I don't want that to happen. And he worked every which way to get him out of it. And he couldn't. Because that law is binding. May your God, whom you continually serve, rescue you. When we enter the lion's den, we see a side of God that we never get to see otherwise. So you like me, you may be, why would I pray? Why don't I just panic and paralyze and then nothing bad will happen to me? Because in prayer, in the lion's den, we see something that we would never see otherwise from God. First is this, we get to experience gloriously intense encounters with God. We get to experience glorious, intense encounters with God. We get to have experience with God that truly change our lives in every which way. When you can look back and say, when someone says, "Hey, what's a moment in life that changed you?" You will look back and you will see, when I faced the lion's den and I looked to God, that changed me. Actually, it's backwards. When I looked to God and I faced the lion's den, that changed me. In 1 Timothy 4:16, it says this, "At my defense, no one came to my support, but everyone deserted me. May it not be held against them. But the Lord stood at my side and gave me strength, so that through me the message might be fully proclaimed to the Gentiles might hear it. And I will deliver them, and I was delivered from the lion's mouth. The Lord will rescue me from every evil attack, and he'll bring me safely to his heavenly kingdom. To him be the glory ever and ever. Amen." We get to experience God in a way that is truly intense. Another thing that we get to do when we enter into the lion's den is we emerge from a terrible situation stronger. I didn't say better. I said stronger. You get to find out about what you're made of truly. I say this when I'm talking to someone, they're like, "I want to know what my faith lies." Y'all want to know the secret of where your faith lies and everything? Share your faith, and you'll see how much you truly believe. Share your faith, and you'll see how much you truly believe. Invite someone over whom you would never invite over, and you will see what you truly believe. You can emerge from a hurtful situation stronger. I was talking to a lady one time, and her daughter has cerebral palsy, and which is a horrible, horrible disease, and I couldn't imagine doing that. And I was trying to, I was like, so what's kind of I was just talking to him. I was like, what kind of things do y'all struggle with? What kind of things do y'all run across? And she was like, well, we got to bathe, and I got to do this with her, and we got to, but I got to do everything for her. I got to feed her, I got to change her, I got to bathe her. I was like, oh. I was like, that sounds like a disability. That's crazy. And she said, no. I went, oh. And she said, the only disability, Clint, is a bad attitude. That's the only thing in life that's a disability. This is a gift, what my daughter has. I was taken aback. That woman had way more faith in me. She emerged from a hurtful situation stronger because of what prayer can do in a lion's den. Another thing that we get to do, Jeremiah 30:12 says this. We're going to read 12 and then we're going to read 17. This is what the Lord says. Your wound is incurable and your injury is beyond healing. But verse 17 says this, but I will restore you your health and heal your wounds, declares the Lord, because you are called an outcast Zion from whom no one cares. Why will I be healed? Because of what God can do. Daniel wasn't saved from the lions because Daniel knew how to blend in. Daniel was saved from the lions because of who God is and what God can do. That's incredible to me. And the third thing that we have when we face the lion's den is we have the opportunity to see a worldly Darius become amazed at our God. We have the opportunity for the world to look at us and go, how did you get through that? How did that happen to you? And we get to answer, God. We are here, I don't know if you knew this. This changed my life when I heard it. We are here to influence the influential. That's why you're on earth. You are here to influence the influential. Daniel 6:25 says this, that King Darius wrote this when Daniel came out of the lion's den. King Darius wrote about all the nations, peoples of every language of earth. May you prosper greatly. I issue a decree that every part of my kingdom must fear and reverence the God of Daniel, for he is living God and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. His dominion will never end. He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders of heaven and on earth, and he rescued Daniel from the lion's den. That was impossible. Impossible. Darius, who thought he was God, realizes he doesn't have the power to save it all because what God did with Daniel in a lion's den. Only God has the power to save. And the world, the king of the world, looked at that and said, I have no answer. And we don't really get something about the lion's den right now. That lion that we just showed that was charging and everything, I'd really like you to say, whoa, hold up, stop, and see if it stops. Because our God went, stop, and it stopped. That's power. And he just didn't do it to one of them, he did it to a den of them. And not only is that power, but I don't know if it scares me. Because our God's big. We are here to influence the influential. So how do I become a praying person like Daniel? How do I become one? Well, I think this is a very good representation of how we become praying people. I don't know if you know these. These are kind of the bane of my existence at 3 a.m. in the morning, all right? Left all over the ground in our house, and so it's like a minefield. But on the box is this wonderful city bridge and a car and happy people. You're like, man, I really want what's on the box. I like what's on the box. I wish I could have what's on the box. And then you buy the box and you realize that it comes in pieces. And you look at it and you're like, I want what's on the box, God. I want what's on the box. I want joy, and I want patience, and I want kindness, and I want to live like your son. I want what's on the box. And God's going, first I got to break you down. And then I got to build you up. Does it through 3 ways. Does it through scripture? Does it 3 ways. Does it through scripture, does it through prayer, and does it through God's community. If you ever meet someone that says you don't have to go to church, they are not a good example. Because you have to come to church. Why? Because God says so. This is how you get what's on the box. Is when I'm broken, I go to Randy, or I go to Bryson, or I go to Bill, and I say, this is happening in my life. And then they help with God through prayer, help put the pieces back together. That's what prayer is. That's what a godly community does. And if you want to be a prayerful man, you got to realize first, you got to be broken. You got to be broken. So how do I become a praying person? First, we got to be broken. The second thing we got to do is check our motives. In Daniel 6:4, it says this, that Daniel was neither corrupt nor negligent. What does corrupt mean? That's a good question. I'm glad you asked. In 2 Peter 2:10, it says, this is especially true of those who follow the corrupt desires of the flesh and those who despise authority. Daniel didn't panic when he realized God was bigger than the situation he was in. He didn't even start to defend himself. He disagreed. He didn't even disagree. He allowed God to fight his battle. So when you desire flesh, don't be like the administrators who wanted the position of Daniel but didn't want the influence of Daniel. Don't be like them. And the second thing is do not despise authority. The administrators did not respect the authority that King Darius set up. King Darius is the one who put Daniel in charge, and it was the administrators who said, I don't want to work for this guy. Did you know your boss at work is who God put in your life to influence? That's why he's there, so you can influence. Not be a doormat, be an influence, because Daniel was not a doormat. He was influential. So if you don't want to be corrupt, don't desire fleshly things, and don't despise authority. And the second part of that is don't be negligent. Man, what a cool situation in Daniel 6, chapter 21, when Darius opens up the lion's den, the first word out of Daniel's mouth is this, not, ha ha! That wouldn't be my first words. It would be like, I made it, in your face, in your face, in your face. That'd be mine. But the story's not called Clint, all right? When Darius opened up and said, Daniel, are you there? Daniel answered, may the king live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions, and they have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I done anything wrong to you, your majesty. Daniel wasn't negligent. He took the opportunity. He seized it. And he said, this is maybe the only shot that I get to tell Darius about the good news of what God can do in his life. The man in the lion's den looks up and says, may you live forever. So in prayer, we cannot forget the most important thing. When you survive the lion's den, there's a couple things to remember. One, realize the gift of every moment. It's a gift. In verse 22, it says, God sent his angel, he shut his mouth as angels. They have not hurt me because I was found innocent. That's a gift. I don't know if you knew this, but because of what Christ did on a cross, we are innocent. We have nothing to be ashamed of. And for me saying that with a past like mine, I should be ashamed of those things, but I'm not. Because of who God is and what he did on a tree. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed. It's a gift. Every moment you have with your family is a gift. I don't care if your first marriage disappeared and you're now on your second marriage. I don't care if some of the worst things happen to you. Whatever it is, you are a survivor, and every moment from there on is a gift. It's a gift. It's a gift to be around the people that you're with and say, I love you and I'm here for you. It's a gift to come to church today and no one break down our walls. It's a gift. It's a gift. When you come from a terrible, hard situation and you come out unscathed at the other side and you come out stronger, it's a gift. And don't forget that. Realize too that God is powerful. God's so powerful that it's scary. Daniel 6:26, Darius says, I issued a decree that in every kingdom people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. For he is living and he endures forever. His kingdom cannot be destroyed. His dominion will never end. Can you imagine someone like Putin or ISIS coming out and saying something like this? They will one day. They will. God is powerful. And the last thing to realize when we come out of Lion's Den is that it may not look the way you think it should look. You know, when I first became a believer, I said I was going to go be a missionary in Italy. And God sent me to Corpus Christi, Texas, which isn't like Italy in any which way, shape, or form. You know, I was so excited. I even learned Greek. I speak Greek fluently. And then he sent me to Corpus Christi, Texas, which I didn't know. They speak English and they speak Spanish. That's the only two languages. I was like, God, why did you prepare me for? And now I look back at my life and he says, I was preparing you for Tulsa. Because every moment is a gift and I'm more powerful than you. And yes, Clint, it doesn't look like you think it should, but it looks like what I think it should. And I'm cool with that. I love it here. But I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd be here. Proverbs 28:1 says this, the wicked flee though no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as lions. Here's my promise to you today, church. And we're about to sing a song and you can come up and we can pray for you. Let's make this promise to each other. Let's be a church that says, when you go through your lion's den, no matter what it is in your life, I will go with you. You do not have to be alone. You do not have to face this situation in a way where you don't think you can handle it, because I'm here with you. And let's be a church that what Galatians 6:2 says, carry each other's burdens. Why? Because God rescued Daniel from the lion's den. And he can do the same with us in our scenarios as well. If you have anything we can pray for, we would love to. Let's stand as we sing as Bryson comes forward.